Hello students, welcome to YouTube channel Vidya for Success.
Dear students, in this video let us study the concept of copy constructor. As you know, there are three different types of constructors: default constructor, parameterized constructor, and the third one is copy constructor. So the copy constructor is used to copy the values from one object to another object, or else you can say that it is used to copy constructor is used to initialize the values of one object to another object automatically. Okay, so that's why we will be using copy constructor. Copy constructor is a parameterized constructor. You know already what is a parameterized constructor. A constructor, if it carries arguments, then it is referred as a parameterized constructor. So similarly, copy constructor is also a parameterized constructor. It means the constructor will be having arguments. So arguments of what type? Arguments will be of type class, of a particular class, because we will be copying objects of one class to another object of the same class. That's why copy constructor will be carrying arguments will be of a particular class type. Okay, so copy constructors are nothing but it is a parameterized constructor using which one object can be copied to another object. Next, copy constructors, they can be used in the following situations. So the first situation when we can use copy constructor is to initialize the objects with the values of already existing objects. As I said, for a class, let us say that we are creating one object in the beginning. Later, we are creating one more object. Okay, so if I want to initialize values of one object to another object, then that can be done with the help of copy constructor. So in which situation we can use copy constructor? The first situation is to initialize an object with the values of already existing object. In the beginning we have created one object. With that value, if you want to initialize, if you want to create one more object, that can is possible with the help of copy constructor. And the second one is when objects must be returned as function values. As we know, functions are having the ability to return values. Okay, they can return integer, character, float. In the same fashion, if a function, if it wants to return an object, okay, so then also we can also consider the concept of copy constructor. So that's the second situation. Similarly, the third situation is to state objects as value parameters for a function. As we know, function will consider arguments. There are different types of functions. Some of the functions will work with arguments. So as an argument we can pass function. Sorry, as an argument we can also pass objects. Okay, so that's a three situation. The first situation is if I want to initialize one object value to another object value, then I can use copy constructor. The second situation is if a function wants to return an object, then I can use copy constructor. The third situation is if a function wants to use an argument by value, where I can use object. Okay, so there also I can make use of copy constructor. Okay, so these are the three situations where we can make use of copy constructors. Next, what is the syntax of copy constructor? So as we know, constructor name will be same as the class name. So here class name in the beginning followed by double colon. Again, once again we are using the class name. Okay, it's nothing but we are defining the copy constructor outside the class, because we have considered here scope resolution operator. Okay, so when we are going to use scope resolution operator, when at the time of defining the member function outside the class. So here we are defining the constructor outside the class. That's the reason. So here, as you can notice here, constructor name will always be same as the class name. So here first we start with class name, colon, double colon, again class name, nothing but this is the constructor name. Okay, next within parenthesis we will be considering an object. Okay, we are referring it by its addresses. That's why ampersand operator. And this object, it belongs to which particular class that we are referring. So that's why we are using once again class name. Okay, so first class name indicates the name of the class. Second, here again once again we are using class name, but it indicates the name of the constructor. Here again once again class name, it indicates object is of what type. Here we are passing the address of the object. That's why ampersand ptr we are using. This is the syntax of copy constructor. Example, as you can notice here, class is referred by the name x. Again, constructor is also of types class name, that's why X. Again, we are sending the address of the object, that's why ampersand ptr, and it is of what type? It is of the class type, that is X. Note. So using copy constructor, we have to go through certain notes, certain important things. Okay. The first thing is copy constructor is not invoked explicitly. This is very important. So parameterized constructor can be invoked explicitly. Okay, there are different ways of invoking a parameter. They can be invoked implicitly, explicitly, or by using a single assignment operator. Initialization can be done using single assignment operator. But copy constructor always, it is not invoked explicitly. We are not forcefully calling it. It automatically it executes. It is invoked by itself. Okay, that's the first note. Second one is copy constructor is invoked automatically when a new object is created and equated to an already existing object in the declaration statement itself. Let us go through the example. Please notice here. What does it mean? For the class X, in the beginning we have created an object by the name A1. So A1 is an object of type class. Next, we are creating one more object A2, again of the same type X. Okay, of the class type X. Okay, for this object A2 we are initializing the A1 values. How that can be done? First class name object new object equals old object A1. So the values of the object A1 will be assigned, will be initialized to object A2. So this is what the note. Copy constructor is invoked automatically. We will not be calling it. Okay, it works automatically when a new object is created. We are creating a new object and equated to already existing. Already there was one object A1. So that object value we have been initializing or assigning it to a new object. Okay, so already existing object in the declaration of statement itself. So in the declaration itself we are calling the copy constructor. Next, note 3. When a new object is declared and an existing object is passed as a parameter. Okay, so as we know, for a function we can pass parameters by call by value, call by reference, and call by address. So we are talking about this. Okay, when a new object is declared and existing object is passed as a parameter to it in the declaration, then also copy constructor is invoked. So another way of invoking copy constructor is we will be passing the object. First we will be declaring the object, later we are passing the entire object as a parameter to a particular function. So as you can notice here, A1 is a object of what type? Of the type class X here. Okay, class name is X. So at the time of creating the object, we are making use of parameterized constructor. Okay, please notice here we are saying what should be the values that need to be passed to the object A1, 100 and 200. Fine. Next, in the second step, this is very important. We are creating one more object A2 of the same type class X. For this object A2, we are initializing the values of the object A1. Okay, that's why A2 within bracket A1. What does it mean? Already there was an object. Now we created a new object. For this new object, we are passing the older object values as a parameter. Please notice here. Okay, so when a new object is declared, A2 is a new object is declared, an existing object is passed as a parameter to it in the declaration. In the declaration itself we are passing. So this is another method of automatically invoking a copy constructor. Fourth one, when an object is passed to a function using pass by value. Okay, so usually for a function can work in different ways. Function can be called by value, called by reference, and called by address. Okay, there are different three methods. So when an object is passed to an entire function, to a function we are passing an object. How we are passing it? By passing by value. So then also copy constructor will be automatically invoked. You can notice here there is a function by the name test. It returns type, returning type is void, and the function test, remember function test, it considers an object B of type X. Okay, next please notice here. So here within the main function, here X is a class. For the class X we have created one object. Okay, so now within the main function, here we are calling the function test. We are calling the function test. For that function we are passing the object value. Okay, so when an object is passed, A is an object. For the object is passed to a function. How we are passing it? By value. There is no reference, address operator is not there. Please notice here. So an object is passed to a function using pass by value, then copy constructor is automatically called. That's the fourth situation. Okay, next, copy constructor is invoked when an object returns a value. Okay, so whenever copy constructor is invoked, automatically when it is invoked, when an object returns a value, when it wants to return a value, then copy constructor will be automatically. Let us consider a program to find factorial of a number. So using this program, I will be telling you how we can use copy constructor. Okay, so in the beginning of the program, as you can notice, we have used the header file iostream.h. Okay, next, the class is referred by the name copy. Within the class, we are having only one data member var. It is of type integer and it is kept in private access specifier. Next, within public access specifier, we are having a constructor. How can I say it is a constructor? Because the member function name is same as class name, so it is a constructor. What type of constructor it is? There are three types: default constructor, parameterized constructor, and copy constructor. So it belongs to parameterized constructor because here I am having an argument. I am not having any object. Here I am having ordinary argument, okay, of type integer. So within this constructor, user will be passing us a value that will be stored in temp. Later that value will be assigned to the data member var. Okay, so that is the job of this parameterized constructor, to initialize the user given value to the data member var. Next, within the member function calculate. So calculate is another member function. It will return the value integer. It is not considering any arguments. Within this member function, we will try to find what is a factorial of a user given number. So to begin with, we are considering two local variables, fact and I. Both are of type integer. To begin with, fact is initialized with the value 1. Okay, so let us say user wishes to know what is the factorial of 3. Okay, so for loop, for I is equal to 1, 1 less than or equal to 3. Yes, 1 is less than 3. So I'll be executing this statement. Fact is equal to fact into I. What is the fact value? 1. 1 into I value is also 1. So 1 into 1 is 1. So answer 1 will be stored up in fact. Later on, I value gets incremented, becomes 2. 2 less than or equal to 3. Yes, 2 is less than 3. Once again, this statement will be executed. Fact is equal to fact into I. Fact value is, previous fact value is 1. 1 into the new I value is 2. 1 into 2 is 2. So the value 2 will be stored up in the variable fact. Data member fact. Okay, variable fact, sorry. Next, followed by that, I value gets incremented, becomes 3. 3 less than or equal to 3? No, it's not less than, but is equal to 3. So once again, condition is true. So fact is equal to fact into I. The previous fact value was 2. 2 into new I value is 3. 2 3s are 6. The value 6 will be stored up in the variable fact. Later on, I value gets incremented, it becomes 4. 4 less than or equal to 3. 4 is not less than or equal to 3. So what we need to do? We need to come out of the for loop. Once we come out of the for loop, we will be returning the fact value. What is the fact value? 6. Okay, so using this calculate member function, we are trying to compute what is a factorial of a user given number. Okay, so within the class copy, we are having two functions and one data member. The data member is var and one function is a constructor, the two parameter constructor. Another one is a simple ordinary member function. Okay, so here we will be terminating the class. Followed by that, within main function, we will be declaring an ordinary variable n of type integer, so that we can hold user given number. So we are asking the user to enter a number. That value will be stored up in n. Now please notice here we are creating an object. Please notice we are instantiating an object for the class copy. So okay, for the class copy we are creating an object, copy object within parenthesis n, because we need to invoke this constructor, parameters constructor. As soon as object is created, we are passing the user given n value. Okay, so using this, we are trying to initialize the var value as well. Data member var value will be initialized with user given n value. Fine, this is not a problem. But here the important thing to notice here is, once again we are creating one more object. OBG was the first object, now CPY is another object. So for the same class we are creating one more object. For this object we are initializing a new object with already existing object value. The new object is CPY, already existing object was OBJ. Okay, so with the OBJ value we are initializing it to CPY, copy. So totally for my class we are having two objects, OBJ and CPY. OBJ is the earlier one, for first declared object. CPY is the new later declared object. So using cout we will try to know, we will check it out whether both the objects values are same or not. Before copying, n is equal to, what is the value of using, what is the factorial value of n, we are checking. Okay, n is equal to, using the object we are calling this function, calculate function. Since it will return the value, answer will be displayed here only. So later on we would like to know, is there any change with the object CPY? That's why once again we are calling cout. After copying, after working with the copy constructor, is there any change we want to know? After copying n CPY, please notice here there is a change in the object, first object, but here we are using the second object CPY. Using second object we are calling the calculate function, CPY dot calculate. After executing this program, please notice here, enter the number. Let us go to the output, enter the number. First user has entered 5. Okay, so before copying one object value to another object value, what happened? Before copying, factorial of 5 was 120. After copying, when I execute this particular statement cout, after copying also, 5 factorial of 5 is 120. Nothing but, please, you need to notice, we were studying the concept of copy constructor. What is copy constructor? It is used to copy one object value to another object. Okay, so that has been achieved here. The same value has been n, in the beginning n value was 5. The same value of object is copied to another object CPY. So that's why we are getting the identical result, isn't it? Okay, so this is how a copy constructor will be worked. Thank you.